Mesopotamia, land of two rivers, the Euphrates and the Tigris. Descendants of the ancient cultures are Syriacs, Aramaic-speaking Christians. Nowadays, the Syriacs inhabit the upper Mesopotamia, which includes northern Iraq, Turkey and Syria, as well as Lebanon and Iran. At the end of the First World War, after the downfall of the Ottoman Empire, their life experienced major change. The newly defined borders divided their population into different states.
This is a village in southeast Turkey. It's a village of Midyat. Name of village is Aynvardo in Syriac, and in Turkish they call it Gülgöze Köyü.
Zeki Aydin has lived in Stockholm for 26 years. There he's doing his best to preserve the Syriac language and identity among his compatriots.
And now in this area, we call Turabdin. Turabdin is area where include Midyat and all the villages which belong to Midyat. We call it Turabdin. That the meaning of Turabdin is Syriac is the mountain of servants of God. So that's the Syriac word. Actually, now all together we have around 2,000 people.
The first persecution of Syriacs took place immediately after the First World War. Turkish nationalism was reinforced by tales of suffering refugees from the Balkans and Russia. Turkish neighbors attacked Syriac villages. Ayvardo was among the few where the villages decided to defend themselves. After 2 months of siege, a ceasefire was agreed. In the 1970s, 40,000 Syriacs lived in the area. At the outbreak of hostilities between Kurds and Turks, they found themselves between the opponents. Villages were left without protection, and most Syriac families emigrated. Syriacs speak Aramaic, the language spoken by Jesus himself. That is why they became acquainted with his teachings very early and adopted Christianity. Since they lived in the East, outside the borders of the Roman Empire, they were called the Eastern Christians. Around 100 AD, the Eastern Christians were joined by a part of Jewish Essene community at the Dead Sea. The Syriac Christians who read the Gospels in the original Aramaic accepted the Essenes translations of the Old Testament. Syriacs are fond of telling their legends, which are full of wise bishops and saints that were peace-loving ascetics, who knowledgeably distinguished between good and bad. Some of the legends link the Syriac history to the life of Jesus. In the little village of Ha, there is a Mother of God church built by the 3 kings on their return from Bethlehem, where they paid homage to Jesus in the crib.
ونشمة بنيامين أيضا ومالفونو ديقري ثتحح وكتلان بيقري ثلفت من حصر يقروثو وكتلان عسري اللي فتكوثن اللي ما درجتو وعمراثي بين حمش والحمش حصر شنيني بصر متكون نفقي مو مكتب دو تركي كوثن لاركي اللي ما درجتو كوما قرينا أولي شونو السريويو هناك ساعد لو كذعي أولي شونو السريويو إذا بيذو كوم الفينا نيود أولي شوناثي أويم هويو وهناك استعاد كذا يول صيوثو دولة شوناثي ما خاصة زد كبعد يول في أولى شونان الدثي وإحنا استيك هوينا نمورو زدترت قدرنا دملفينا أولى شونان الدثي ويم هويو.
There is a long history of education among the Syriac. In the town of Nusaybin, just off the Syrian border, the Archbishop of Mor Yaqub and the poet Afrem established the famous Nusaybin school as early as in 325. Lessons included philosophy, law, theology, astronomy, and medicine. It was as early as in the 2nd century that some Eastern Christians decided upon a hermetic way of life. Soon afterwards followed the appearance of monastic communities led by spiritual teachers who blessed the endeavors of the monks. Hermits held a unique attraction. They were visited by pilgrims from India, Greece, and Rome. From the golden age of monasticism in the 5th century through the 13th century, individual monasteries in the upper Mesopotamia housed 1,000+ monks. The monks left for the east among the Turkish and Mongol tribes of the time, as well as to India and beyond it to China.
St. Eugenius Monastery is the oldest monastery in this area. It is built in the 4th century between 320 and 363. In this monastery, there were thousands of monks living here, praying here, fasting here, servicing the people here. So they preached the Christianity here in this area. So St. Eugenius was called in our tradition the second Christ, because if we are looking to his deeds and we compare it with what our Lord Jesus Christ did, they look like. So for us, St. Eugenius is the second Christ. And this monastery was also in the history called the Second Jerusalem.
The monks inhabited cells chiseled out of the rocky hillside, completely renouncing material possessions, lacking sleep, and denying themselves food. Some of them even went without clothes, and others ate only a few times a week. It was in 1970s that the last monk died and the monastery was left deserted. In 2011, 2 monks, Joachim and Aho, returned from Great Britain where they completed their studies of theology.
We are praying 3 times a day here. We are celebrating the Holy Mass on Sundays in this monastery, and the local people in this desert. Of course, we have 3 villages of our community here in this desert. They are sharing us with their children, with their family, and we are celebrating the Holy Eucharisty in this monastery.
By the side of the arterial road leading from the town of Midyat to the east lies Saleh or Bari Steppe, today's largest Syriac village. Most inhabitants make their living from farming. In the middle of the clustered village there is a church. Just like other buildings, it is surrounded by a high wall that delineates the inner courtyard. The villagers gather in the church several times a day, since Christianity and the Aramaic language form the basis of the Syriac identity.
Ono qasho sham'an ukohno dirito dmoria hqub malfono dasrog dmiden كتلنا ديما قاعد يقري ثدميدن حمشو حمشي يقروثو وكيبان ميدا 350 نفشوثو كحوينا كعيشينا كلن مشي حويب قاعد يقري ثدميدن.
Although nowadays most Syriacs from Turkey are displaced all over the world, they continue to regard Upper Mesopotamia as their homeland. As witnessed by the written records in Aramaic, their churches have stood here for 2,000 years. The Syriac community in Turkey has not been granted the status of a national minority yet. For this reason, the Siriacs do not enjoy equal rights in schools, hospitals, or cultural institutions, as for example Jews and Armenians. The year 2012 saw the establishment of the Syriac Union in Turkey that interconnects 7 associations in the territory of Tur Abdin. The union is active in cultural, social and political domains. Its members prepared the proposals for adoption of constitution which observe the rights of the Syriacs. They cooperate with other civil organizations and churches and act as a partner in dialogue with government institutions.
لأنه أديوما بواسطة ديعيته وعمانه فايش مصر عم حذذي وعمانه فايش آذع لحذذي وعمانه فايش بودر بوديعيته فايش بودر بوضعلوه وإيعيته يد مصر لا وعمانه عم حذذي لطر لبني بلبل وطر له لديوما قيموا على رغله.
The famous monastery Mor Hananio lies in the vicinity of the town of Mardin, the administrative center of Tur Abdin. The monastery encompasses several churches and a crypt containing tombs of patriarchs and bishops. Near the altar of the central church, there is a beautifully carved throne of the patriarch. It is here that the official patriarch's seat was between 1923 and 1932.
تركيا مقدم ومقبل روحية ترك وهنوها لا تشرورو يعني نوشو مصري المقبل روحية كتيو ترك سوريا أما وطن داش دي دولاتي وطن داش دي جمهورية تركيا يباعي قطرو لاتلن بس احنا حقا كبينا مدينة بخصوصان هذول كتلنا عودو شو ختم اكتيف المبدلا بس مجربينا عمشو توسي كل مبدنا ودانو لشان احنا سنة حقا بلوزان كبا يلولو شونو كبا الغلبة مدوني تقدرينا معشينا لرسمي بمدرشيوث.
The little village of Kafro or El Begendi was deserted by its inhabitants and the houses were destroyed in the conflicts between the Turkish army and the Kurdish rebels.
Ich bin zurückgekommen zu meiner Heimat, dass ich meine Kultur, meine Sprache weiterführen kann. Weil jeder Mensch hat oder kann seine nationalen Werte in eigene Heimat weiter ausüben.
They were encouraged to return by the assurances that the government would assist in renewal of the village. Nevertheless, the villagers are faced with numerous problems, from childcare to transport of children to school, from control of public services to maintaining the national identity of the community.
Und im Jahre 2006, dann sind wir zurückgekommen, einige von uns mit Kindern, einige Frau und Mann und so weiter. Aber insgesamt sind wir 12 Familien zurück. Wir sind jetzt im Dorf 12 Familien, so um die 40 Personen. Aus Deutschland, Schweiz und eine Familie aus Schweden.
We need to be equal with everybody. We don't want something special for us, only to be like others.
The Siriacs initiated a dispute before the European Court of Human Rights. In spite of some declarations to the effect that the position of minorities and their institutions in Turkey is to improve, in 2008 and in 2012, the Turkish court confiscated a large part of land of the monastery Mor Gabriel. The monastery is a spiritual center of Syriacs in Turkey, which sustains the flame of Syriac Christianity. It is also the seat of Timothy Aktas, the Archbishop of the Syriac Orthodox Church. The situation of this monastery reflects the present and the future of Syriacs, Christians in the Upper Mesopotamia.